There's been a ruling recently by Justice James Omotosho in Abuja regarding Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of IPOB, and it has set off quite a storm in legal circles. But what many people don't realize is that the judgment may actually be riddled with so many flaws that it could potentially fall apart on appeal. Stick with me as we break it down step by step, and you'll see why this case could take a very different turn when the higher courts get involved. Please make sure you do well by sharing this video, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. The first thing that caught our attention was the issue of jurisdiction. Now, any legal proceeding, especially in criminal cases, has to settle jurisdiction first. If a court doesn't have jurisdiction over a case, then the whole process is considered invalid from the start. In Kanu's case, his legal team challenged the court's jurisdiction to hear the case. But instead of addressing that key question first, Justice Omotosho proceeded with the case. Experts in the field have pointed out that this is a major flaw. No case should move forward without resolving jurisdiction. It's a basic legal requirement. If this isn't fixed, it renders the entire judgment null and void. Big issue right here. And then comes the issue with the objections. The judge gave clear instructions to the defense to include all their objections, like jurisdictional issues, in the final written address. But when it came time for the defense to present these objections, the court blocked them from submitting their final addresses. Now, you have to understand, blocking a party from raising valid objections during a trial, especially those that are related to fundamental rights like jurisdiction, is a clear violation of the defendant's right to a fair hearing. And if a trial happens without fair hearing, the judgment automatically faces a very serious risk of being overturned. So that's another red flag in this case. Then there's the matter of key defense motions that were completely ignored. The defense filed motions on critical issues like Kanu's illegal rendition, abuse of court process, double criminality, and charges based on a repealed law. These motions were all left without written rulings from the judge. Now, legally speaking, any decision made by a judge must have a written ruling on all motions that have been filed before judgment. The fact that the judge didn't provide written rulings on these crucial applications is a serious procedural mistake. In any properly conducted trial, this is a fatal error. One of the most shocking aspects of this case is that Kanu was made to plead under a law that had already been repealed, the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2013. The judge himself acknowledged that the law had been repealed, but still he allowed the charges to proceed under it. That's just plain wrong. You can't charge someone under a law that no longer exists. Legally, a repealed law cannot be used to sustain any criminal charges. It's a clear violation of the legal system, and it makes the whole process invalid. Moving on, we have to talk about Section 36-12 of the Nigerian Constitution. The Constitution makes it very clear that no one can be convicted of a crime that isn't clearly defined in an existing law. However, in Kanu's case, the allegations made against him, like planning to bomb foreign embassies during the EndSARS protests, were never included in the original charge. And not only that, but these allegations also lacked any concrete evidence. The court didn't have any witnesses or credible support for these claims. Legal experts are alarmed at the way this was handled because it seems like the court introduced entirely new claims without the proper legal backing. This is a clear breach of legal principles and judicial ethics. Now let's get into something really interesting, the savings clause in the new Terrorism Act. The court relied on this clause, which supposedly allows old cases to continue even after laws are repealed. But here's the problem. Legal experts argue that no savings clause can override the Nigerian Constitution. A repealed law remains repealed, period. The court essentially tried to use an expired law to convict someone, which is just not how the legal system works. This undermines the Constitution and raises serious concerns about the judicial process in politically sensitive cases like this one. We also can't ignore the double criminality test, which should have been a part of this case. Since the government alleged that Kanu committed crimes in Kenya, Nigerian law requires that the alleged crimes must also be crimes in Kenya. But guess what? There was no evidence presented showing that Kanu's actions were criminal under Kenyan law. no police reports, no witnesses, no documentation, and yet the court proceeded as though this essential test wasn't necessary. That's a massive issue for Kanu's legal team, and it makes the case even weaker. Now, all of this brings us to one of the most serious violations, the denial of fair hearing. The fact that the court blocked final addresses, ignored valid objections, and failed to rule on key motions all amounts to a denial of fair hearing. Nigerian law is very clear on this. If a trial does not respect the right to a fair hearing, the judgment is automatically void. This is where the rubber meets the road. If Kanu's legal team pushes this in the appeal, they have a very strong argument that the case should be thrown out entirely. Then we have to talk about the judge introducing claims with no evidence. For example, the claim that Kanu planned to bomb foreign embassies. There were no witnesses, no evidence, and no charges related to this in the initial case. This should never have been introduced into the case. It's completely out of place, and it raises serious questions about the impartiality of the court. Introducing unsupported allegations like this violates judicial ethics and shows a lack of objectivity. So, when you add up all of these flaws, jurisdictional errors, constitutional violations, reliance on repealed laws, and the introduction of baseless claims, experts are saying this judgment is on shaky ground. Legal analysts believe that when this case goes to appeal, it is highly unlikely that the judgment will stand. In fact, they are predicting that Kanu could walk free based on the numerous legal missteps in this trial. Now, let's zoom out for a moment. This case is not just about Nnamdi Kanu. It's about the larger issue of judicial accountability and the importance of upholding constitutional safeguards in politically sensitive cases. If these kinds of errors go unchecked, it can undermine trust in the judicial system, especially when it comes to high-profile cases like this one. The Nigerian public is watching closely to see if justice will truly be served or if political interests will continue to interfere with the legal process. At the end of the day, this case raises some serious questions about the state of the Nigerian legal system. Can we really trust the courts to deliver fair judgments in politically charged cases? Are the rights of citizens being protected, or is the judicial system being manipulated for political gain? These are the big questions that need to be answered in the coming months as the case moves through the appeal process. Now, what do you think about all of this? Do you believe Kanu's case could be overturned on appeal, or do you think the original ruling will stand despite the serious flaws? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below and let me know what you think. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates on this ongoing legal drama. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more legal insights and updates. Until next time, take care